What is the purpose of the send function on Python generators? I understand yield. But what does a generator send function do? The documentation says, resumes the execution and sends a value into the generator function. The value argument becomes the result of the current yield expression. The send method returns the next value yielded by the generator, or raise a stop iteration if the generator exits without yielding another value. What does that mean? I thought value was the input to the generator function? The phrase the send method returns the next value yielded by the generator seems to be also the exact purpose of yield, which also returns the next value yielded by the generator. Is there an example of a generator utilizing send that accomplishes something yield cannot?
It's used to send values into a generator that just yielded. Here is an artificial, non-useful, explanatory example. You can't do this just with yield. As to why it's useful, one of the best use cases I've seen is Twisted's at defer.inline callbacks. Essentially it allows you to write a function like this. What happens is that takes 2 seconds returns a deferred, which is a value promising a value will be computed later. Twisted can run the computation in another thread. When the computation is done, it passes it into the deferred, and the value then gets sent back to the dostuff function. Thus the dostuff can end up looking more or less like a normal procedural function, except it can be doing all sorts of computations and callbacks etc. The alternative before this functionality would be to do something like it's a lot more convoluted and unwieldy.
This function is to write coroutines. Prints. See how the control is being passed back and forth? Those are coroutines. They can be used for all kinds of cool things like async IO and similar. Think of it like this, with a generator and no send, it's a one-way street. But with send, it becomes a two-way street. Which opens up the door to the user customizing the generator's behavior on the fly and the generator responding to the user.
This may help someone. Here is a generator that is unaffected by send function. It takes in the number parameter on instantiation and is unaffected by send. Now here is how you would do the same type of function using send, so on each iteration you can change the value of number. Here is what that looks like. As you can see, sending a new value for number changes the outcome. You can also put this in a for loop as such. For more help, check out this great tutorial.
The send method controls what the value to the left of the yield expression will be. To understand how yield differs and what value it holds, let's first quickly refresh on the order Python code is evaluated. Section 6.15 Evaluation Order. Python evaluates expressions from left to right. Notice that while evaluating an assignment, the right-hand side is evaluated before the left-hand side. So an expression that equals b, the right-hand side is evaluated first. As the following demonstrates that a p left equals p right, the right-hand side is evaluated first. What does yield do? Yield suspends execution of the function and returns to the caller, and resumes execution at the same place it left off prior to suspending. Where exactly is execution suspended? You might have guessed it already. The execution is suspended between the right and left side of the yield expression. So new_val equals yield old_val, the execution is halted at the equal sign, and the value on the right, which is before suspending, and is also the value returned to the caller, may be something different than the value on the left, which is the value being assigned after resuming execution. Yield yields two values, one to the right and another to the left. How do you control the value to the left-hand side of the yield expression? Via the .send method. (6.2.9) Yield expressions. The value of the yield expression after resuming depends on the method which resumed the execution. If _next_ is used, typically via either a4 or the next built-in, then the result is none. Otherwise, if send is used, then the result will be the value passed into that method.
If you want to see more, please consider subscribing.